Okay, so here's the lesson on how to add space and depth to the tractor. So the first thing I did is look up a picture of a tractor because I have no idea how to draw one. And I picked the one view, the side view. It's a lot easier to draw them from the side. So once again, I'm going to take my X, move it farther away. So if I move it over here, it's going to be hard to see a lot of stuff. And if I move it up higher, then I'll have a better view of the top of the vehicle. So let's get our X nice and far away. Okay, so I'm going to start with this part because it's the easiest part to understand. And so there's the quick sketch. I'm just going to do it really fast, and then I'll do an additional one where I slow it down. So then from the bottom here, I go back to the X, and then we cut off the back like this. And then we need to go, to the tire, it'll be here, and they're really big tires. And then this has to go back to the X too. So this now has to overlap this part, and I'll erase this. And then remember, we always go down to the bottom of the tire, so you got to take that angle and do that. And then when you get the bottom of the tire, that will also, remember there's a tire on the other side as well that sticks out. So it just draw the same circle as this side, and whatever that width is, just make it just a little bit skinnier on this side. And you can go and use all the X's the X to figure out where everything would fit on this side. Okay, so what else do we have to do? We have to go from here back to the X. And same thing, I'm going to go use this line to go straight across, straight across. I'm going to come here, and that'll show me where the front corner is. That would be where that line is right there. Make it double. And then now we know to take this curve. I'm just going to do it as a straight line first, and then I'll go and fix it and kind of bend it down like that. Right, and then so what else do we have? Something like this. Nope, I can't see the front of it because of the angle. Something like this pipe, I would go in and add an ellipse to make it more three-dimensional, and I would go and use the X for the top of it to figure out where does it go on this side. Just make it smaller on that side. And then you can go ahead and start putting things like, here's the side of a dashboard, and then you can go back to the X. I have no idea what the inside of the tractor looks like. I'm sure there's a steering wheel in there. That would be an ellipse. And then you can go back and start doing the detail. And the treads would definitely, you would go like this, and you'd have these huge treads that you could go and start just kind of putting double zigzag lines in, but your main line here would go back, and then always to the X, and then you would just kind of draw your treads in between those lines. Okay, so for those of you that need a little bit more information, or a little bit more help, I will now do the slower step-by-step one. Okay, so even though we have something way more complicated than we've drawn before, the steps haven't changed. So once again, I'm going to start with the cab because I think that's the closest to like a building or something we've seen before. So we go from this corner to the X, go from this corner to the X, and then decide where you want the bottom of this to be. For now, I'm just going to use this because it's the only information I have. And okay, so now I can cut this off, and I'm just going to decide where I want the back of it to be. And the front goes straight up and down, the back goes straight up and down. Okay, so I think this time I'm actually going to do the front of it first. It might be a little bit easier. So now that we have this back corner, we can use it to go, it goes straight across, this goes straight across, so this goes straight across. And where does it go to? Well, this bottom corner, we know where that is. So if I use it to go back to the X, right, where those, that'll tell us where that panel is. And then here's the front corner right here. So if I go there, I'm just going to make it see-through for a second. That shows us where that corner is. And of course it comes down like this on this side. Now we can get rid of this. And this circle, same that's at the front, it'll be the same at the back. So where does that circle go? I'll use this to go back here and it'll show me. Alright, so there's a circle for the tire right there. I missed that when I did the quick one. So I said once I start slowing down, I see it better. Okay, so that gives us this piece of information here, which is what we need to know. Alright, so I need to go wherever the top is here. That's where the top is at the back. So once again, what am I going to do? I'm going to use my X. And that'll help give me information as well. So again, I used this as an initial point to figure out the line. So I knew where it met up here. Now I'm kind of figuring out, okay, well, where is that dashboard? I'm just going to go ahead and make a dashboard line there. Okay, now I'm going to go to the front. And I'm going to go back this way. And right there is where it would be. So the front doesn't actually go straight across. The front angles, I'm just going to put a little tiny line straight across just so I remember where it goes. And this is the time where I've got this angle here, and I'm going to just help myself a little bit by putting any straight edge down, and then I can go try to match those angles like this. And then knowing that it's actually a bit of a curve, I like to do the straight line first just to get my angle right. And then I can go back and get that part all curved. Okay, so the next part's a little trickier is we're doing the tires. So again, I'm going to go from the X, I'm going to put it wherever I can to touch the wheel here. And then decide how thick I want the wheels to be. So we start off with parallel lines to do another parallel curve. So you can see it's going to actually just overlap in front of this now that we go three-dimensional. And then remember, you can't just cut off a tire wherever you want. The tire always has to go down to the middle. So we start with that to kind of understand what our angle is, but we want to kind of slowly bring our angle out. A little hard with rounded things, we just kind of get a better idea of it. Because when you look at tires, they actually don't go completely round. They do go flat on the bottom. So in reality, this would actually be flatter a bit, which would help you get this shape a little easier. Same with this, the guard here, I would go back to the X and then just make the back of it the same as the front. And then for my tracks, the treads on the tire, because these tires would have huge treads on them. You would do this, and then just, you can kind of do a texture of a tread. I'm just faking it with little triangles. But if you want, I mean, if you're looking at a picture, you can, you know, legitimately do all the details. As long as your main lines are going back to the X, that'll give you the tire. Okay, so whatever you do at the front, you need to do at the back. So I ended up with that edge as the tire, and we actually already kind of got that right there. And let me go back and get my other edge. It's here. Okay, so the inside of the tire starts right here. And at this point, you're just kind of trying to do your best to get a circle. I have a studio full of art supplies, so I get to, you know, cheat and pull out stuff like this and go, oh, it's got to be smaller, and I can kind of just try to find my circle here, which I'm going to, but the rest of you just kind of have to like, okay, try your best to get a circle back there. And then I need to find this size at the back. So once again, I'm just going to go back to the X. So you're always taking the information that you already know and then applying it as you get farther back. So then I now know, what's the size of the circle when I get farther back? Oh, here it is. All right. Except I need to make this wider. So now I need to, same thing. It just has to be less wide than this one. And I can start to kind of go back, and same thing, I'll go and get my lines. Remember, everything's going to be smaller back here, and just start to get those treads. So, and then, oh, we just have this one back here. Now you can kind of fake this one because we're not going to see it very much. Just kind of go back in, and the same thing, your treads would go, what little treads you could see would go back that way. I don't think I can see the top of this part. Nope, I tried. It doesn't show up. Okay, so what else do I know? I need to make this three-dimensional. It's flat, so remember, it's got to change to an ellipse. We still do those ellipses that we learned at the front. Okay, for the height of it, I know how to figure that out. Go back to the X. And where's the bottom of it? It's right there. So I'm going to go straight up here. And it's got to be skinnier. And then I can just add another one right there. And I can figure that exact size by going from the front to the back. Okay, so I said a lot more complicated drawing, but we're not changing the steps. They're always the same steps. It just takes a lot more to figure out, okay, how am I going to figure this out? This bumper, I didn't put it. It would be here. So again, I'm using the line at the front to figure out where it is. And it's parallel to that curve. The curves get a lot trickier. But just remember that it takes practice to figure out this stuff. The more you do it, that's what skill building means. It means keep working until you have figured out the skill. And you notice, I don't get it right the first time. I don't get these curves right sometimes the second time. It takes me a little while sometimes to figure this stuff out. This right here, I have to complete more to look like this. I'm missing a side right here. Look, this is flat. I should be able to see this inner side right here. Oh, forgot that one, forgot this one. You know, at the end you should be able to go, oh, I need something right here. Missing that. It's got to be three-dimensional so that you can see the front side. So we can also start to do things like there would be a step right here. So if I go back to the X, and start sticking out this way, that makes sense. There'd be parts that stick out this way as well. This is a cylinder, so we got to curve those lines. And same with this. This is a cylinder, so we need to be able to curve those lines as well. Okay, hope that helped. Getting pretty complicated at this point, but once again, no matter how detailed something gets, you're still just doing the same 4 steps, plus we added curves, so now we can say we've got 5 steps to do.